Hello everybody. In today's episode of Planet Coaster 2 and this Grand Nexus theme park, we are going to be theming up that coaster that we built in episode 2. If you have not seen that episode, maybe go check it out. Before this one, you can see how the coaster layout came to be and that tower also, how that came to be as well. But yeah, in this episode, we're going to be theming it up and finishing up the coaster and ending with a ride POV. And hopefully you guys will let me know what you think and give me some advice on how to improve it. But in terms of what we're doing now, this is actually taken from this tree that is taken from my Zelda Park series from my last project that I was working on, and I'm just trying to adapt it to fit into this. My idea here is that, so the idea behind this coaster in general is, again, you've come through this portal, you've found this ancient tower, and the idea is that this is like the key to all of the realms, which will be represented by the different regions of this park. So this coaster, I'm naming it Riftborne Flight of the Nexus. This coaster is kind of like the idea behind it is that it's taking you from realm to realm, and it's kind of like taking you through these different dimensions. And these blue lights represent like the, what do you call them? Like ley lines in terms of like I guess the energy coming from the different realms and all kind of congregating in this section of the world, or the park. So that's my idea here, is like you're kind of like got launched into this this forest, I guess, this jungle forest area where you're seeing the ley lines. You kind of get the idea like there's this energy coming from different realms and different regions, and the entire coaster as a whole is you going through those dimensions and kind of what the experience is like to be able to enter into those other regions. To kind of build off of that atmosphere of like different dimensions, and you're in the middle of like a portal to those different regions, different worlds. This is going to be what I'm doing here is animating some like floating architecture, some floating ruins, to kind of give that mentality that you're in this portal, you're within the traveling to different realms. It's kind of like things are stuck in limbo, things are not as what you would expect them to be, I guess. They're just kind of like floating in a vacuum and kind of in limbo as you're in between worlds. One thing I do need to do though, and again, I mentioned last episode that I posted a POV of this ride on Reddit and got a lot of really good feedback on how I can improve. Again, if you're new to this, I am not a coaster expert by any means. I don't have a ton of experience in real life coasters. I just enjoy the theming aspect of theme parks in the immersion, so that's really what I focus most on. But I want to learn to be better with the coaster constructions. But anyways, back to this, and back to how it relates to this, is some of the feedback that I got from this ride in particular was that it was pretty fast. So maybe I need to slow down the launches and kind of reconstruct it that way and rethink the pacing throughout this coaster, because I mean, I'll admit, when you see the POV of this, like it's hard to kind of like take in this specific scene, because you're just kind of flying through it. So I feel like the theming is cool, and it kind of is exactly what I was picturing in my head and wanting to convey the feeling I wanted to convey with all of this stuff. But it's hard to kind of like take it in as the rider on the coaster, because you're just kind of flying through it, and it's like, oh, were those floating? Were they just there in midair? I don't know. So I think that's something I want to fix. And maybe once I finish this park, maybe I'll do like a rehashing of some of these rides, and as I begin to learn and start to implement some of the things that I'm learning from the community and just with building in general more consistently, maybe I'll go back and kind of improve upon some of these rides and make them better. You'll notice in this episode, like, there's a lot of elements on this ride that I'm not showing the build footage of, which was not my intention. Specifically, like the boarding station, the queue line, the theming there. I lost the footage. I don't know where it went. I think I mentioned last episode that I kind of went through a couple different iterations of the theming of this ride. This is the most up-to-date one, but in that kind of like clearing out memory and hard drive and space for the new capture footage, I feel like I might have just deleted some of the older versions of the theming, and that would have included the boarding station and some of those things, so apologies for that. Here I'm trying to, build up that lost civilization, lost village, ruins feeling, the vibe that kind of building off the vibe of the entrance. Again, this is a continuation of that portal entrance. This is the centerpiece of the park, but it's still part of like the lost civilization. So I'm trying to incorporate more of that into this ride, as again, this is kind of like the flagship ride of the park, or at least of this area, where it's really representing the travel between the portals, i.e. the different regions of the park. So yeah, just trying to, again, create an extension of that whole world in this coaster. And I find this to be helpful. So like if we, I'm creating this structure and I can kind of take it apart, reorient it, stick them together, and use one kind of blueprint, I guess, and create bigger or smaller or different versions of the same thing without having to build completely from scratch. I'm sure that's not a groundbreaking strategy, but it's something I find helpful in terms of like not taking too much time building out all of these brand new from scratch structures. And maybe people enjoy doing that. I probably would enjoy doing that too if I had a little bit more time to do it. But I'm the type of person who likes to see the finished product, and sometimes that hurts me and makes me rush through things. But that's one of the things I implement in terms of my building strategies. Take something that you build it in groups so that you can take them apart and kind of reorient them, reorganize them, rotate them, that sort of thing, and you can, save a lot of time in having to build from scratch and just use what you already have there to create a new structure. So it's not as repetitive throughout the scenes that you're building. It's it's an efficient way to keep things a little bit more variable. Is that the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? Just not so repetitive and redundant. I don't know if I'm the only one who goes through this. I'm sure I'm definitely not the only one, but something that happens to me when I'm working on a project, whether it's this game or anything, could be a work project, could be music project, could be anything. The more time I spend with it, the less happy I become, and I start to get in my own head more, and I start to think that what I'm doing is crap, where I start out being pumped about it, and then, again, I just kind of like overthink things, and I think it's just it's a result of looking at something and working on something for so long. You kind of become jaded to the whole process. At least that's the way I experience these things. But anyways, the reason I bring that up is I was looking at some of these these elements and sections of the coaster, and I was really just underwhelmed. And I figured maybe it's because the coaster just seems like it's plopped down in something that I'm building around it. It doesn't feel like it's part of the area. So that's why I started creating these kind of, I wouldn't say custom supports. Maybe they are custom supports, but I've seen a lot more intricate and mechanically correct support building in this game from other creators. But this kind of helped me ground it into the whole vibe of this ride, and it makes it more a part of the world rather than, like I said, just plopping a roller coaster down in this world that I'm building. And again, going back to what I was just saying before, building a structure and kind of repurposing it, resizing it, rotating it. That's what I did with this. I created one kind of pillar to be able to put on the coaster supports, and kind of overlay it, and then, you know, resize it to fit where it goes along the coaster, and also not be so samey over and over and over again. I think it added something to it. I was pretty happy with that. So another piece of advice for theming a ride, just kind of, you know, what can help it make it seem like it's not just something plopped down in a world, and it actually is like purposely and intentionally built in a way that makes it part of the world. Initially, this area in particular was supposed to be, you know, that area where I was creating the floating ruins and pieces of the village and arches and rocks and whatnot. That was actually supposed to be meant for this section, kind of like a bigger section. I honestly don't even remember why I changed it. I think because my computer was getting bogged down with all the pieces. I was using a lot of the there's this jungle tree blueprint that I found on the workshop that I was using kind of for the foliage of this area, and I think it was just really bogging down my computer and hurting the performance. So when I went ahead and kind of redid the theming, I deleted all the work that I did initially and kind of took another stab at it. I decided to go in a different direction. So what I did here was basically just, again, is making an extension of the civilization that is lost to time and kind of overtaken by nature. Just more of that feel, kind of flying through the structures of this, and hopefully, again, trying to create the impression that this civilization is at the center of something big in terms of, like, again, the travel between different realms, between different worlds, different dimensions, however you want to kind of phrase it. Just knowing that, like, okay, this is the center of this whole phenomenon that we're experiencing when entering this world. And another example of taking something simple that you build and kind of arranging it in a way that's going to make something even bigger, and not having to spend so much time creating it from scratch. Especially, I find it, especially for like rides like this and a coaster where like it's not meant as like a stand and kind of like be part of type deal, as in like a main plaza on an entrance to a park. Like, if I was doing that, I would probably take a lot more time to make each building and each part of the building kind of unique to the other. But whereas this is just like a ride you're kind of flying through, a coaster that you're flying through at a high speed, the guest doesn't have a ton of time to like look at the different intricacies of each specific part of the structure. So I feel like it's more apropos to take what you've built, repurpose it in that way, and I think it makes it it makes it more efficient in terms of theming up a ride to get to that finished product. You see the boarding station to the side of this build throughout this section of the coaster layout. So that's the boarding station I'm referring to. I lost the footage. I wish I didn't, because I kind of like how it came out. And it took me a little while to build, because I went through a couple different iterations of it. I tried a couple different things, and this is how I ended up with the finished product. But yeah, I unfortunately lost the footage, so apologies for that. If you were interested in seeing how that was built, I unfortunately don't have it. coming to the end of this theming of the coaster. I'm going to see a lot of nature implementation with the remaining parts of this. Also, another thing that I really like about this ride and the theming that I lost footage of is in that lake towards the end of the ride. As the coaster's kind of circling the lake, I have a big like ruins tower thing kind of emerge from the center of the lake with water splashing up. Again, I lost the footage of me building that building and animating it, but it's part of the ride. It's probably the part of the ride that I'm most proud of in terms of the theming aspects. I think it was really something that came out exactly how I wanted, and yeah, I think it's a cool ending to the ride. But anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna finish up the theming here with like the nature and the trees and the foliage and rocks and whatnot, and I'll let you guys watch it and finish out the video, and at the end we'll go through a POV. If you guys are enjoying this, or you did enjoy this, please leave a like, subscribe, consider following my channel as I go on this journey of becoming a better coaster builder and improving my theme park building. A lot planned for this project and for this park in general. As I mentioned before, like I'm in real time, I'm currently working on the pirate region. Super happy with how it's coming out so far, and even more pumped now that we have the pirate update coming this month, I think June. So yeah, if you want to stay tuned for that and keep following along, please consider subscribing, comment what you think, leave a like, help me out a bit. Yeah, enjoy the ending of this and the POV. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.